let's talk about flooding for a second, how to avoid it and how to fix it. We had a couple of questions about it, but we thought we'd put all the flooding info into this video. So first of all, let's talk about how to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think, it depends on why it's flooding, because it could be flooding because you're using too much product,
Mm-hmm.
in which case avoid it by using less product.
Mm-hmm.
It could be flooding, which if I'm going to experience flooding, it's because my product's too hot. Guaranteed. It's
Mm-hmm.
because it's
So it's
really
moving
hot.
too fast.
Yeah, it's moving too fast. Like, if I'm ever concerned about flooding, it's because my product's thinner than I'm used to working with it, and that's because I had the heater on for too long usually, or it's a hot
Mm-hmm.
day.
Yeah.
So you can cool down your product. Like in summer, if I find that I'm struggling, then I run into the house and I grab an ice pack and I bring it out to the salon and wrap it in a towel so it's not ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have my BRBs or any product that I'm working with sitting on the ice pack while I'm working
Mm-hmm.
to thicken it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes, or when I was learning, when you're trying to float a substantial, like a bead of biab over the nail, rather than ever so slightly floating it to like just taper it to the sides, you're trying to move an entire bead of product to this side wall and an entire bead of product to that side wall, which takes so much longer, so that's more time for your product to self-level away from you, and then it literally just runs away from you because you're taking too long. But you want to taper the bead over the nail rather than getting a whole heap of product so close to like the edge of the nail, and then once it's there, it's just going to go whoops and self-level down that side wall.
I was going to say, if you've done a good slip layer, you shouldn't be taking your bead all the way to the edges.
You don't need to.
So if you've done a good slip layer, then which is the layer that you paint on but don't cure before you do your building layer or your building bead. If you've done a good slip layer, then you would only really take your product like over the middle 80% of the nail, roughly.
Yeah.
Like, and then the slip layer will do the rest of the work for you, so it will self-settle to the edges. But if you are taking the product to the edges, you're going to flood.
That's the whole point of the slip layer, is that it's slippery. So whatever, you just need to nudge product, and then the slip layer keeps sliding it along from you.
Yeah.
For you.
And letting the slip layer do the work is also how you don't have to file.
Yeah, because it's perfectly self-leveled and smooth. And it's faster because the slip layer is working for you. So I'll start at like the cuticle area. It's not, I'll swipe like float down like the first third of it. It's not perfect, but I know that slip layer is going to do the work for me. So by the time I'm down to the free edge, that whole nail has done the work for me. It's perfect. I stick it in the lamp. I can do it in 30 seconds, not in 2 minutes.
Yeah. And in terms of, I just thought as well about the heat causing it to move quickly. It's not just the product that can be hot, it can be the client's hands. So if someone has really, really warm hands, some people just do, you can still do the ice pack wrapped in a nice towel and then have it sitting next to them, so that whenever you're not working on their hand is on the ice pack and cooling down the client or the environment or the product. All those things will slow it down.
If you are working on a very long nailed client, on a long overlay, and you do need to be using a lot of product, because we said before that don't use too much. If you do just need a lot of product on your nail, work in layers. So not just talking like a slip and a build layer, like slip, build, fully cure that layer, and then slip, build, and fully cure that next layer. And
eventually you'll get so confident with that you'll find yourself picking up a bit more until you are working in like one bead per nail. Okay, what do we do? And what we were going to answer this separately, but I think we kind of just did. So Stacey had asked, how do you stop biab from running into the sidewalls? And I don't think we've got too much more to add. No, that is pretty much like that's the flooding. So if you do flood, what do you do?
It depends how much flood. and at what point of your application on that one nail you've flooded. If it's a perfect application and your client does that and it goes doops over the side, I'd get my cuticle pusher, like the hook, well actually either end, scrape down that side wall and get them to pop their hand in the nail and the lamp.
Or I use my stylus tool.
Do you?
Yeah, but like the big bead, this end, this,
yeah,
that one.
Okay.
Is so you can use lots of things.
You scrape it off. You scrape it off, and they pop their hand in immediately. If it goes over ever so slightly, as you're only starting to apply that nail, that little bit of gel that's gone down the sidewall is kind of like a messy slip layer. So while you're trying to apply the rest of that nail, despite having already cleaned that little messy edge, that's now a messy slip layer, and all of the substantial, like the overlay build layer of your product, is now going to be falling into that. In that case, you're just making more of a mess. So I would just get a lid-free wipe cleanser and wipe it off and start again.
If you notice that a nail is threatening to flood but it hasn't flooded yet, you've got two options depending on your skill and confidence levels. Option one, if you are more confident, is to pull it back. So use your brush floating to grab the product and pull it back to the center to move it all into the middle again, and you can save that nail and still have it perfect. If your skill level and confidence are not quite there yet, but it hasn't flooded yet, it's just about to, chuck it in the lamp.
Yeah.
Just stop it. Whatever you have to do to stop it moving, and you will have to file that nail, but that's okay. At least I personally would rather file that nail if it hadn't flooded, but it was just not quite right and it was threatening to. I'd rather file that than wipe it all off and do it again, personally.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I have the control to, if it's going to the side, it hasn't flooded yet. If it's just getting out of place, I would control it. And
you just pull it. Yeah, but if you don't have that skill level, like if
Definitely
I didn't have that skill level, I would put it in the lamp.
Yeah, avoid flooding at all costs, and bit of filing.
And then avoid filing at all costs later. As you get better. And Erin actually experienced flooding while filming this course. I'm not sure if that video is before or after this one, but it was because the client hit the top of the lamp as she was putting her hand in.
On extensions as well. So I was also working around a rickety nail form, so she also bumped the form out of place and product went everywhere. Yeah,
so if you want to see exactly how Erin solved that, which, like, spoiler alert, she basically wiped it all off, and just the mapping layer was left behind because that had been fully cured. Some brands you can then just build straight back onto the cleansed mapping layer, but some you have to stick with that rough or sticky kind of, like, gel has to have a rough or sticky surface. So better safe than sorry. If you're not sure that you can definitely go straight onto a cleansed product, if you have to clean off product, then buff it with a 180 and then go back into rebuilding. But
180 buffer?
A 180 buffer, a buffer. And so, if, like, what Erin had to do was clean off the entire building layer and therefore the slip layer as well. And then with some brands she could have built straight back on, but in this scenario she buffed it with a 180 grip buffer and then reapplied the form and rebuilt the entire nail. But yeah, if you want to see it done, then it is in the extension with forms video within this course.
I have a good question. What do you... what I'm asking you, like, I'm not going to say the answer as well. What do you do if the nail is flooded but it's cured? Which sometimes that happens to me. I know my gel lamp, my UV lamp has a sensor on it, and sometimes my clients don't put their hand in far enough to activate the sensor, so the product floods and then it cures.
And that's why I turn my sensor off.
The problem isn't so much the sensor, but for whatever reason
it didn't cure kept running.
For whatever reason, your client's taken their hand out the lamp and you have a flooded, cured nail. What do you do?
Panic. No, I'm kidding. Do you know, just same topic but tangent. It does frustrate me a little bit when I do a perfect nail and I'm like, cool, pop it in the lamp, and they go, okay, and look at my work before they put it in the lamp, and I'm like, no, I need you to just put it in the lamp. If it's flooded, I guess it depends how badly it's flooded and in what way, because a very slight flood, I might be able to safely file and reduce through filing and file without getting anywhere near the skin. Fingers crossed. But if I can't get it off the skin or away from the skin, or if it's major, I'll soak the whole thing off and redo it.
I reckon cuticle flooding is the absolutely like most difficult. If that's flooded, not a snowball's chance I would soak that off.
Yeah, because the other thing as well is even if it's flooded and then you manage to still file and create a nice nail, but there's still some stuck to the skin but it's separated, which I've seen a lot of students do. They fix the perfect nail but like they don't want to rip it off the person's skin, so there's still some touching the skin and they've just left it, and then I guarantee you the first thing that client is going to do when they get in the car is pick it off, and so they're going to rip off their like epinicium and and then they're gonna go, well, I got nails done but there was product all over my skin, and when like, and then it ruined my skin, like it made me bleed, and it's like, well, no, I'm not excusing the nail tech, but it didn't make you bleed, you ripped it off. But also I can't blame them for ripping it off, so if in doubt, soak it off. Always
soak it off. And if it's around the, doesn't really flood at the free edge, so it would be like your sidewalls, your laterals, in which case I would go in with like you use 180 file that you've scored the edges on, and be very, very careful. Use a manicure brush to remove any dust so you can see what you're doing.
I specifically have a couple of super worn files just in case I have to get close to the skin for any reason. They're not part of, like, I have all my files in file packs like set up for per client, but I have these couple set aside so that they're practically like 280s, like they're really, really worn but they haven't torn yet, like, because if a file tears or is damaged in any way, you can't disinfect it anymore, so you have to throw it out. But these are ones that have worn really nice and even, and I just keep them just in case I have to go close to the skin. And you mentioned that you can't really flood the free edge. You can't really flood the free edge, but what some students do is cap with too much product, then cure it, and there's product under the nail, soak that off.
Sure.
Or unless you're e-file trained. If you're e-file trained, you can use an under nail cleaner to take it out from under the nail. But I would assume if you're e-file trained, that was like a really genuine big mistake and you had no idea it was there, because you're probably quite a proficient tech already. But yeah, if you went under the nail, soak that off and do it again. Because A, the client's gonna pick it out, and B, it can cause overexposure because it's sitting on you often like on the hyponychium. Also it's just unprofessional. But you'd soak it off, you wouldn't do it in the first place, but you'd soak it off.
You're not leaving with that.
And I know there's a lot of anxiety in our industry, full stop, but I know there's a lot of anxiety in our industry around like admitting to mistakes. Like, people would rather leave it there because they don't want to soak it all off, and then the client's going to think that they're a bad nail tech because they made a mistake. I promise you, a client is going to think you're a bad nail tech if you make a mistake and leave it there. Like, if I make a mistake and I try and fix it, lots of my clients are like, no, just leave it there, it's fine. And I'm always saying, no, it's not fine, that's not what you're paying for, I'm fixing it. And like, if they're in a super, super rush and that's why they're telling me not to fix it, then I don't fix it, but I also don't charge them for the service, which is like, I don't know the last time that happened, but that it has happened, and that's what I would do. But yeah, like, I always fix it. Never be ashamed of admitting a mistake. The fact that you can admit a mistake and fix it, people will respect you for, and you will get more clients. No one's going to be like, oh, she's a bit shit, she fixed something. Like, no, they're going to think that you're not as good if you leave them and you don't admit to the mistake, because that tells them you didn't know it was there. That tells them you're not that good.
Yeah, I make mistakes every day, and most of our job is knowing how to fix your mistakes, not knowing how to be perfect. And I just keep going, and they don't know that finger got 4 layers when it only needed 1 because I wasn't doing my layers properly. They don't know.
Yeah.
I just go, pop your hand in the lamp, and they do. Like, just keep rolling with it. And I would usually, I don't try to hide them, but I would only communicate that I've messed up if it's starting to affect my clients. Like, does that hurt? Is it sensitive? Sorry, this is going to take 5 more minutes. Is that okay? It's only when it starts to affect them that I communicate it, but I'd never like leave it.
Like, or like if my colour is shrinking, not BRB anymore, tangent, but like if my colour is shrinking slightly because I left the heater on too long before I started nails, then I'll paint too and then get them to put their hand in the lamp. And because it's unusual, it's not what they're used to doing, I will be like, oh, just pop it in the lamp, I'll explain in a second, so that I can get the nails in the lamp before they visibly shrink, and then I'll explain it, but only because it's weird. Unusual for them.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's all the bits, right?
Yeah, ask questions though, because there might be many a scenario of different flooding problems if we haven't covered them, because self-leveling is one of the best things about biab, but it is problematic, especially as you're learning.
Yeah, and especially on a hot day.